We have, as we've rightly said, a difficulty with the Irish backstop with the EU. And the EU have put forward a proposal which is completely unacceptable to the UK, which would carve off Northern Ireland, essentially. The backstop is something that we don't expect to use. It's an insurance policy in a last resort. So this is about a kind of an issue which is something we don't think will be realised. But we have to resolve it in either sense. And what the Secretary of State for exiting the EU, Dominic Raab, has put forward today, and echoing the sentiments of the Prime Minister, is that potentially, bearing in mind this is all still part of a negotiation and not an agreed position, potentially extending the implementation period by a few months, if that would resolve this backstop issue.
So in other words, getting a deal. So in other words, it's saying that if the EU drops its demand for this backstop, then the transition could be extended. It's a bit of a quid pro quo.
It's a negotiation, yeah, and Dominic has been clear that that's what that we would accept a potential extension by a few months, subject to either a finite time limit or a mechanism to extricate ourselves from it, if it meant breaking this impasse and avoiding the very unattractive proposal by the EU, which is an indefinite customs union and a limbo period which would cause complete uncertainty and not honour Brexit.
Just to be clear, because I know we can get quite far down in the weeds in these discussions, but we're talking here about the transition deal extension to replace the EU's backstop, not the UK's proposed backstop, which is to keep the whole of the UK in a customs.
Well, we want a UK-wide backstop alternatively. So what our proposal was a temporary customs arrangement, which meant that the whole of the UK was treated the same. There wouldn't be a border down the Irish Sea, and we would retain that essential integrity of the United Kingdom. Completely reasonable and something that this government is duty-bound to deliver. And the EU have been unable to come halfway on that proposal. So we need to try and find an alternative if we want to strike a deal. And ultimately, if this does get us to a deal, which is what we all want, then